All right, welcome everybody. We'll call to order the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 2nd. Get a roll call, please, Maureen.
Sure. Weigel.
Here.
Sowski. Hasowski, are you on? Berg.
Here.
Lensky.
Here.
Friedolfs.
Here.
Veen.
Here.
President Sandy.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And then we do have, Ms. Osowski, we have you online. Looks like you unmuted. We can't hear you. Do you want to try one more time just to see if your audio is coming through? Okay. Well, we can't hear you, so see if you can work on that. All right. Item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.3, Mayor's announcements. First, hope everyone had a good Labor Day weekend, long weekend, was able to enjoy that. We got schools back, public schools, UND's back, a lot going on. And fortunately last week too, the Columbia Road overpass opened up. So great news that that's ahead of schedule. So that's good to hear. Just a couple of notes. Hopefully everyone was able to either read about, hear about, or get down there for the Taste of Belgium for that Agristo community celebration. Really great event over at Town Square on Monday, and then the downtown fair was great that weekend too. How did the attendance turn out? We have a record?
I haven't gotten final numbers yet.
All right, I think it will be, so it'll be close. And then just wanted to mention, coming up Thursday, we're going to have an open house and a ribbon cutting for the event center. So the Alaris Center Conference Hall Event Center area got remodeled throughout the summer. So great chance to get out there and see how that looks. And that facility continues to be one of the best facilities, certainly in our part of the country. So great to see you there. If you get out there, that's going to be Thursday. It's going to be 3 to 6 is the open house, and then the program will be at 4 o'clock. So that's it for Mayor's announcements. So we'll move on to item 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1, Red River Valley Community Action Update.
Mayor
Mr.
Paczynski,
Phelan.
members of City Council, I've asked Colin Hanson, your community development manager, to come forward. We've been meeting with Red River Community Action, and they've dissolved as an organization. However, there's lots of programs that they're running, so we've been meeting with the state of North Dakota. There's going to be some ongoing meetings here over the next 2 weeks, so I think we'll have a more full briefing on the 15th at your city council meeting, but we thought it was about time we let you know kind of what's transpired and what we're doing from a city of Grand Forks perspective, and Colin will give you that update so you have a kind of a precursor of what's going on and probably more in a couple of weeks. So with that, I'd hand it over to Colin.
Mr. Hanson, please.
Thank you, Mayor Paczynski, President Sandy, members of the council. One point of clarification, Red River Valley Community Action has not, while they have shut down, they have not dissolved. So just to clarify, the board still exists. They are meeting. But just to give you an update on what we've been doing, we're kind of in a triage mode. We've been working closely with the Department of Commerce, their Division of Community Services, which primarily funds Red River Valley Community Action, as well as Community Action Partnership of North Dakota. That's a statewide agency that provides technical assistance and training to community action agencies across the state. As part of that, we want to give a brief update on the programs that Red River Valley Community Action provided and where we're at in making sure that services are provided to residents within the city of Grand Forks, within the county, and the 4-county area that they serve. Above all else, we've been working to try to maintain access to housing, energy, and supportive services for our low-income residents in the 4-county area. So know that that's our immediate focus at the moment, is making sure people are served. Primarily, two of the big programs that are provided by Red River Valley Community Action is called LIHEAP. That's a low-income home energy assistance program, and what's referred to as weatherization. The 4-county area that Red River Valley Community Action serves is Nelson, Pembina, Walsh, and Grand Forks counties. Obviously, as Grand Forks being a part of that, we are the largest city within that 4-county area. As part of that low-income housing energy assistance program, also referred to as LIHEAP, they provide heating assistance, weatherization services, furnace and chimney services, energy assistance, cooling assistance, and energy cost reduction services. That is currently, there is with the Region 5, Sendka is out of Fargo. The Fargo Community Action Agency is working with Red River's current staff member, Mike, to finish up 5 projects that are currently active and open within Red River's service area. There is a current request out to Fargo's Community Action to, in the immediate 3 to 6 month term, temporarily take on that project to ensure folks throughout the winter have access to heating assistance and emergency repairs and weatherization services. Supportive Services for Veteran Families, also referred to as SFVF. That's a VA initiative designed to help low-income veteran families who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. The Jamestown Community Action Agency, which is Region 6, has hired a former Red River Valley Community Action employee who ran that program. They are currently being paid by the Jamestown Community Action Agency to run that program in Grand Forks. Darla runs that program. She is located in Grand Forks, currently at the United Way offices. The Home ARP program is for families experiencing homelessness, those at risk of homelessness, and those fleeing domestic violence and other priority populations. That program is also being run by an individual formerly with Community Action, now being employed by Jamestown Community Action to fulfill those services in our area. Christy is running that program, and that is also located, for the time being, at United Way's offices. There's another program, the North Dakota Homeless Grant, which is rapid rehousing and homeless prevention funds. That's about $250,000 in direct client financial assistance for our 4-county region. That is being allocated by North Dakota Housing Finance Agency, but that too, the plan is for Jamestown and Region 6 to temporarily run that program with someone in Grand Forks to serve our 4-county area. Weatherization, along with LIHEAP, is in the same situation. They are looking to the Fargo Community Action Agency in the 3 to 6 month period to make sure winter we have folks receiving weatherization assistance. The Helping Hands Rehab Program is for low-income homeowners to help with maintenance in their home and keeping homes affordable. There's the Home Rehab Program, which is simply rehab for low-income homeowners, and the Homeowners Assistance Fund, which is accessibility modifications for homes. We're thinking ramps, railings, lighting fixtures for those who have a disability or mobility issues. There are 15 open cases within the city of Grand Forks. Those 3 programs, it's going to be requested of the Devils Lake Community Action Agency to administer those programs on a temporary basis. With the Fargo and Devils Lake Community Action Agencies, those are not finalized yet. They are approaching their respective boards to get approval to help chip in during this time of need when Red River is not providing those services. They are doing so so far on their own dime to support us, to support Red River in this time of transition for them. Also, in our conversations with the state and with the Community Action Partnership of North Dakota, the city is temporarily going to be answering calls for Red River Valley Community Action and directing clients to services. So whether it's the services I've listed tonight or other housing assistance services throughout the community, Planning and Community Development Department will, on an interim basis, make sure the phone calls get answered and that people are receiving assistance. As we move forward, we're going to continue working with the Division of Community Services at the Department of Commerce and the Community Action Partnership of North Dakota to make sure immediately that people are served and then moving forward to see what long-term solutions look like.
All right, well, anybody have any questions? I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Hanson. I know, Mr. Hanson, I know you've done a lot of work on this to try to do the best you can and help out in a time of need. It's not normally your role, but you stepped up, so thank you for that. Thank you for the update. Any questions for Colin? All right, thank you for the
Thank you.
update.
2.2 is a proclamation, National Assisted Living Week, September 7th through the 13th.
Thank you. Whereas the number of elderly and disabled Americans is dramatically increasing, whereas assisted living is a long-term care service that fosters choice, independence, and autonomy in our elderly nation, and whereas the National Living Center for Assisted Living proudly created National Assisted Living Week, and whereas the theme of National Assisted Living Week 2025 is Ageless Adventure. Highlights the opportunity to bestow on our residents a multitude of events and activities that show them how much we care for and love them. And now, therefore, I, Brandon Boczynski, Mayor of Grand Forks, North Dakota, proclaim the week of September 7th to the 13th, 2025 as National Assisted Living Week in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and urge all citizens to visit friends and loved ones who reside at these facilities and also learn more about assisted living services and how they benefit our community. So, National Assisted Living Week, September 7th to the 13th, 2025. That's it for item 2. Item 3, public hearings and second readings of ordinances.
3.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance to enact trespassing on city property and appeal.
All right, thank you. So at this time, anyone here to speak on item 3.1, we'll open up the public hearing for item 3.1. So please come up to the podium, and that's as it relates to enacting the trespassing on city property and appeal ordinance. All right, thank you. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion and open up to council for comment and action.
I move approval.
Motion from Ms. Osowski. Do we have a second? Second from Ms. Lunsky. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
3.2, public hearing and second reading of ordinance related to gaming site authorizations and attaches the ordinance as revised by City Council on August 18th.
Thank you. And Mr. Gosted, was there any revisions that came out of that I know we had a couple small ones. You just want to point to those, and I'll open the public hearing.
Sure. The two modifications, one was the effective date for the qualifications that are noted under what's now new subsection 2 of 90406 was July 1 of 2027. Also, there was a question raised with respect to the single event type of game of chance. It did read before the game of chance that wasn't conducted on an ongoing, regular, or day-to-day basis. It was changed to and day-to-day basis so that, you know, if the 50-50 raffle at the Ralph Engelstad Arena would qualify for this exemption. Would be an example.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gosted. Any questions for him as related to the changes? So mainly the date, and then just the date to 2027, July 1, 2027. Okay. All right, with that, we'll open up the public hearing for item 3.2. So if you're here to speak on item 3.2, please come up to the podium now. Mr. Krausnick, please.
There we go. Thanks for having me. Andrew Krausnick, I know all you now. I'm here to talk about the gaming ordinance change. I sent a couple emails, but I'm just hoping that I can be a part of the discussion and maybe find an alternative to reach the intent that you guys are looking for. I think I understand it clearly, but we're trying to keep nonprofit dollars locally in our community to help these groups that don't have a chance right now in gaming or haven't had a chance maybe to get into gaming. Try to take some of the relief off the taxpayers where some of that money is going maybe for the arts. One of the groups, though, that would be impacted with the way it's written right now would be a charity that I've been working with and want to get into my location for nonprofit gaming, and that's Dare to Stand Out. Just some backstory on how I got hooked up with these guys. We started the Buddy Classic about 3 years ago, and that was to fund wheelchair accessible golf or accessible golf for the community. We wanted to raise money for a wheelchair accessible golf cart where someone could wheel on there with a wheelchair ramp and restraints, kind of like a wheelchair van. So we started that just as a fundraiser, and we've raised enough money for that at this point. And then we decided after we got into that we wanted to work on adaptive golf too, where there's a cart where if you're wheelchair bound, you can be transferred into this. If you're strapped in, it puts you in a standing position so you can actually swing a golf club. So you can go tee to green, sand traps, driving range, the whole deal. You could even use it inside in a simulator. Fargo has that. They have about 5 of those now. Minot has it as well. There's a group that's funded it there. So after our first event, the second year we were going to do it, and I got connected with a gentleman named Chris Mapes, and he sent an email to you guys, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago. But he's the president of Dare to Stand Out, and he started that after his brother who had spina bifida. But they've successfully, not through any charitable gaming yet, they've helped fund 5 of these adaptive golf carts for the Fargo-Moorhead community. They're about $35,000 to $40,000 carts. And they've done all sorts of fundraisers to make that happen in the Fargo-Moorhead area. They've partnered with the Park District and some other groups for sponsorship. So when I met him, talked to him, he wanted to get involved and help Grand Forks too. So he's been now the last 2 years a big sponsor for the Buddy Classic, contributing money and taking part. But we talked last year, and he had thought about getting into charitable gaming, and I said, I would love to host you guys, and I didn't have charitable gaming at the time. I said that lines up exactly with a mission, something that we're really passionate about for the Grand Forks community. So he had said, yeah, let's get this going. And his intention would be to keep 100% of the net proceeds right in Grand Forks for these carts here, so we can replicate what they've done in Fargo-Moorhead. He doesn't have a huge staff. He doesn't have any paid staff for Dare to Stand Out. His office is his home address in West Fargo, so he doesn't have an office to pay for or expenses, but he doesn't have any paid staff, and he doesn't have any board members that would be up in Grand Forks. So with the way this is written, we'd be saying that Dare to Stand Out couldn't come in the community. So I'm just looking for a way that we can maybe achieve the intention that you guys are looking for to keep funds locally, but not say no to something like this for Grand Forks. We were approached then, we knew this a year ago that we wanted to have Dare to Stand Out come in, so we weren't going to do gaming until then. We were approached by Horse Race North Dakota then during the winter, and I think it was December. They came before you and that was approved. So they started gaming in January in our location. They couldn't promise that. They wouldn't be able to promise you guys that they would keep 100% in Grand Forks. They're based out of Fargo. They have a statewide mission for equine services. So maybe they could promise that they'd keep 50%, maybe 75, maybe 80, but I know they couldn't realistically promise 100%. But Chris from Dare to Stand Out, he for sure could say that he would keep 100% of net proceeds in Grand Forks for adaptive golf, inclusion, accessibility, and inclusion in sports. So hopefully there's an option where instead of having a residency or a board member residency requirement, it could be tax returns that you would look at either annually or biannually and actually verify, hey, are they keeping the funds in Grand Forks like they say they are? It's all public record with being nonprofits, so you guys could definitely do that. I just hope there's a different way to achieve what we're looking for than saying no to a group. I know it's only one example, but also it looks like there's probably about 28 opportunities in Grand Forks right now, based on what Sherry had posted online, where people have alcohol licenses, but they don't have any gaming. So I'm wondering if it's maybe just not having groups take the time or effort, because it's a lot of work to get into this gaming, to go out and actually get those groups signed up. It seems like the Children's Museum's done a phenomenal job getting both new groups and taking some from others, but they've got a lot of new places that never had gaming before. So I think some of it's just putting the effort in with these other groups. But with this specific example, I don't want to see this take a step back. I mean, we'll continue fundraising. This is a passion we have, so we're going to do this for Grand Forks for adaptive golf and sport. But they'd be able to do so much with this charitable gaming to do that, both here and Fargo. But if they got in my site and then other sites, they would promise to keep that 100% locally. So I know Chris couldn't be here, but I wanted to speak on behalf of that and tell you what, Horse Race said too. I mean, they wouldn't be able to keep 100%, but Dare to Stand Out definitely would keep 100% of net proceeds here in Grand Forks. So I just wanted to share that. Any questions at all for me?
All right, thank you, Mr. Krausnick.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, anybody else on item 3.2? Please step up. And then just state your name and where you're from on the record. We got Andrew already. He's been up here a few times.
Yes,
so.
hi, my name is Judy Lewis, and I'm the Executive Director of NPPA, the Fargo-Moorhead Community Theater. And first off, I would like to say thank you for extending the date to 2027. Is that what I just understood in that ordinance? Yes, thank you for that. I would love to humbly ask for one more year beyond that, at least. And I would like to also express, while I haven't been here for 29 years, NPPA has been in Grand Forks for almost 30 years. We have employed 20 people. 60% of our proceeds absolutely stay here. And what happens with the rest of that money, I personally, I've only worked for FMCT for 6 years, and in that time, I've sent several directors here to direct shows at your theater here. Just recently, our choreographer, somebody who works for me and who is trained by us, choreographed a show right here in town. this kind of thing doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes the whole state to make this happen. I've worked on the UND campus with your students and making theater with them, and it takes all of us. So I want to let you know that not just that 60% stays here, but more does. And FMCT and PPA's focus is really about literacy. It's not about art. It's about teaching young people to read so they can do math. We do a whole lot more than just acting on the stage. While we build empathy and creativity and confidence, we're also teaching hardcore literacy skills. And that is happening here with us through the people that we're helping to grow and train and do those things. So I would please beg you to let us stay, but also to maybe at least consider one more year at least. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Any questions for me? I'm sorry.
No, thanks for
Thank
driving
you.
up. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
All right. Please. I think it's already on, so yeah, you're good to
Okay.
go.
Hi, Mike McMenamy. Got a couple questions about what you guys are proposing here. So you're saying, if I'm reading this correctly, that 75% of employees and 75% of board members are residents of Grand Forks County. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, feel free to ask questions. We'll take them down and then we'll be able to go
Okay.
to them afterwards. Thank you.
So this is for the gaming outfits, right? Charitable gaming companies? Is this going to be something you're going to propose to every company in Grand Forks? That's a question I have. And another question, if you want to go from 10 sites down to 7, if this goes through, the charities that have over 7, you're going to be taking business away from them? That I do not understand.
That's
I
not
have a
listed.
question about that.
Mr. McMenamy, that's not listed in this ordinance anymore.
It's not?
No, it's still, it stay at the 10.
It's going to say at 10?
Correct.
Okay, because this is the one I just printed out. So it is going to say at 10. Okay. Answers the question, thank you. One other thing. So it says, currently there are charitable organizations in the community that are interested in having sites. However, they are not able to secure a site to operate due to none being available. So I'm wondering, who exactly are these charities? Because if you're a charity and you want to get in a site, you got to get out and earn it, don't you? Don't you got to get out and hustle? I mean, no one has come up to me lately, it's been a while, but someone said, hey, Mike, I know you're busy. Can we have a few minutes of your time? We would like to make a proposal to you about coming into your site. I'll listen. You know, I just feel like whoever these charities are, instead of coming to me and other bar owners, they're coming to you guys and say, we can't get in, we need help. Come talk to me. I'm a pretty nice guy. I really am. So those are a few of my concerns on this, and any questions for me?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I say something? Maybe not a
Sure, absolutely.
just in response to Mr. McMenamy, I've talked to 2 youth organizations that have been interested in going in. They've talked to multiple bar owners, maybe not yourself directly, but they haven't been able to get in. I've actually reached out to also some people that are not on the list or currently don't have gaming. And one of them that I talked to specifically said, we just don't have the room for it. Because you do, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gosted, it has to be in a 21 and over only. So you maybe take out some of the restaurants, maybe like an Applebee's or something along those lines. And that's what a couple of them have said to me, as far as we don't have the space, we can't make a 21 and over only section. But I have personally talked to 2 people that are in charge of youth organizations that have tried reaching out to multiple bar owners, and they haven't been able to get in. Because a lot of them, like we've said in prior discussions, maybe they do have relationships with the charities that they're supporting, and so they haven't been able to get in for those reasons. Sure, go ahead.
And I guess one of the things I would say, like the organization you're talking about, are they offering full-service gaming? Would they have people on site? Would they offer more than just the E-tab machines? Are they going to offer a pig wheel, blackjack table, paper pull tabs, bingo?
I think they were open to any of it.
Okay.
Yep. I don't
Okay.
think they were just sold on one or the other.
Because that could be kind of
Yep.
detrimental.
I can
Like I said,
understand
having
that.
people on site rather than just, we're going to put in E-tab machines, the bar's going to handle all the money, the payout tickets and everything. We're just there to collect our money.
No, completely understood.
Okay, very good.
All right, floor is still open. Anyone else to speak on item 3.2? All right, with that, we will close the public hearing portion and open up to council for further comment. I don't know if there were some other questions. I know the 7 I was trying to write down. I know one stat, I think, Mr. Goss, as you look through the state, as far as what you could propose in an ordinance versus what you couldn't, maybe speak to you know, having an entity spend money in the community versus having the board make up why they came to that versus looking at their W-2s or I guess their returns for a charitable organization. I think there was some differences in what you could do and you couldn't do in an ordinance based on state statute.
Yeah, there's legislation passed this last session that allowed governing bodies to include qualifications for those to get a site approval from the governing body. However, the statute was not changed that you cannot direct where funds of an organization would be expended. Even those that would meet these qualifications, we still can't direct where their funds would be spent. We reached out and got information from the North Dakota League of Cities, and they had come up with, didn't put in any particular percentage of employees, whether it was a specific number or percentage. We took direction that the council wanted to do it on a percentage basis of both employees and the governing body.
All right, thank you for that. Any further questions? Otherwise, we'll open up to comment or action from council. Vice President Weigel.
Mayor, I've supported, from the very beginning, I supported moving it to 5 locations per nonprofit. The council didn't want to do that, and I respect their decision for that. I've probably talked to more people on gaming in the last couple weeks than I've probably talked about any other subject. So I know it's something that's big and it's important, and I think all of our nonprofits in their own right do really important work throughout the community, both here and other places. And so, but I've also heard from other nonprofits that are doing equally as important work, that they're struggling to get into charitable gaming because of lack of locations or lack of, maybe I'll just say lack of locations. They just can't get into some of these places due to relationships that maybe bar owners have with certain nonprofits, which is respectable. So with that, I think it's good that we added another year. I think if a nonprofit wants to get into it or a new nonprofit wants to start up, I understand that they have to have 2 years, I'm going to call them tax returns, show that they've been in and around 2 years, so that wouldn't stop somebody to coming into Mr. Krausnick's place if they started a new charity that had 75% of their board member here in Grand Forks. And so with that, I would move approval of this ordinance change.
All right, thank you. We got a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We had a second. I think Ms. Osowski beat you to it. Any further comment? Ms. Berg, please.
I mentioned this at our last council meeting, but I believe we could be facing unintended consequences by preventing organizations from wanting to be based here if they're a statewide entity. I don't want to detract from Grand Forks. I want people to come here and seek to be here. The headquarters located here, we immensely benefit from, and so I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Yeah, Mr. Veen, please.
Yeah, Mr. Weigel, maybe you can answer this. Giving the additional year especially, could we then determine between now and that deadline date or that that new date, if we're effective or not? Is
I,
there a way to measure, if we do this and try to bring more gaming, probably to the smaller entities that are looking to do it, to find out whether we're being effective? Because there probably are unintended consequences that were just discussed that could be there. But it'd be nice to be able to say, okay, in another year, we'll take a look and see how effective this really is, because it doesn't go into effect till now, 2027.
I think, in my opinion, it's maybe a twofold answer. I think when we moved it during COVID from 7 locations to 10, I think there's probably unintended consequences there, because now we have organizations that can have up to 10, which doesn't allow other people to get in. To directly answer your question, I don't think we'll know the true benefit until after that date passes, because we're not, they can't get in, well, they could get in there prior, but that's going to be the last date that the organizations that don't have 75% of their board would be able to get in. So they'd still have another almost, year and a half-ish, almost 2 years to be able to be within that organization. So I don't think we'll know until after that date.
Not being a gambler, but many who do they choose where to gamble based on who the entity is that's going to benefit?
I think it's probably a combination of both. I think for me, when I've gambled, I'm here already, so I'll throw $20 on the table and maybe I can pay for my one drink that I'm going to have. But I'm sure that people do see that, hey, this is a charity that I support. So if I am going to gamble, maybe I'm going to go there specifically. I think it could be either or.
Any further comments? All right, I want you to roll call vote, Maureen.
I have a comment.
Oh, Ms.
Mayor.
Osowski, I missed you. You got your hand up. And so does Sandy, it looks like. Missed the people online, so we'll get there.
Sandy's been waving his arms for a while now, but I'll go first since you called on me. I guess one thing, about the number of sites that each organization putting a cap on those is we're talking about, 2 different kinds of gaming when we talk about it. Like we're talking about, bars like Southgate that have full on gaming. And that's why I don't want to lower that, because not all charitable organizations have the ability to provide these bars with full on gaming. And it's my understanding that that's why we had to up it from 7 to 10 when a few years ago, is because there were no other charitable organizations that were able to provide full on gaming. And so I don't want to see that number go down, because I still want the bar owners to be able to choose what types of gaming that they have at their facility.
Thank you. President Sandy.
I think, although perhaps Red River Valley Community Action isn't the greatest example because it is multiple counties, I think the financial failure that we discussed earlier is actually a perfect example of why it's so vital that the dollars that are spent in gambling are retained by our community. I'm all for Mr. Weigel's sporting athletic groups for getting into gaming. More importantly, I'd rather see CBIC, I'd rather see the...
President Sank, can you go a little closer to the mic? You're pretty quiet. There you go.
All right. I'd rather see the Community Land Trust, CBIC, others in our community that we already know that the nonprofits that are providing services in our community are struggling financially. Many of them, since COVID, have grown their budgets significantly, and they're going to be having financial problems. Red River Valley Community Action is one example. There are going to be lots more, and gaming revenue could be something that could save them. I actually have been really struggling with this change, but tonight it's become more and more important, obviously become more visible to me why this change is so important.
I do also have to say, I'm an indiscriminate gambler who loves to throw $20 on the blackjack table any chance there's an opportunity, and I have no idea who runs the gaming at any of the places where I go. It doesn't really matter. Also, Mike McMenemy is correct. He's a very nice guy and he's easy to approach, so people should come talk to him. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, President Sandy. All right, with that, I think we're comment periods. Well, go ahead, Bisberg, I'll let you finish.
How are we going to monitor how 75% of the employees are going to reside in Grand Forks County or Polk County, and how 75% of the board members will be?
Thank you. I don't know if that's for Mr. Gosted. Ms. Lundmark, why don't we start with Mr. Gosted? He turned his light on quickly.
We took a cue from the alcohol, I think class 4 or whatever it is, where you have to provide, with your qualification and your certification, you have to provide essentially an affidavit declaring under penalty of perjury that you're meeting these qualifications. So that's the methodology. If we discover, obviously, if you discover that they're not meeting that qualification, we've got a certification from them that they did, and in fact, that wouldn't be accurate. And at that point, I think their authorization would be subject to a revocation proceeding.
Mr. Gosset, just one question for clarification. We did have Grand Forks County and Polk County in there. Is that still in the ordinance? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
It is with respect to the employees and the board of directors. It is not with respect to the headquarters of the organization. It is just Grand Forks County.
Okay, sounds good. All right, with that, Ms. Storstad, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
All right, Weigel,
Yes.
Osowski,
Yes.
Berg,
No.
Lansky,
Yes.
Friedels,
Yes.
Veen,
No.
and President Sandy.
Yes.
Motion
Looks like the
passes.
motion passes 5-2. Thank you. Looks like we have item 3.3.
3.3 is the public hearing and determination of protest on request to vacate drainage easements lying within Lot 2, Block 1, Homestead Grove, 4th Edition, located 1051 10th Avenue South and 4401 South 11th Street. No protests have been received in finance.
All right, thank you. So we will open up the public hearing at item 3.3. If anyone's here to speak on item 3.3, please come to the podium. All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion and open it up again to council for comment or motions. Motion to approve from President Sandy. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Friedolfs. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, move on to item 4, citizen comments. Do you have comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark?
I have two this evening. First, Greg Rickson.
Mr. Rickson, please.
Mayor Paczynski, President Sandy, Greg Rickson, I represent Happy Ears Bottle Shops. I'm here to quickly comment on the ordinance on the alcohol compliance. I did submit my notes online, but I want to take a moment to introduce myself. I know most of you, but I just want to introduce myself and just again reiterate, I hope as this thing moves forward, there's an opportunity for all your different liquor license holders to have a comment and a concern added to the process. If you had any quick questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Otherwise, I'll leave you alone.
Thank you. Are you still taking the seat for the Alair Center Commission, too? You got double duty tonight.
I asked Anna if I got a vote, and she said I didn't, so
right.
I guess I'm hooked.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Rickson.
And then Andrew Krausnick.
I forgot to start the timer for Mr. Rickson, but I think he was under 3 minutes, so I think we were good. So I'm not playing favorites. I just forgot. All right, Mr. Krausnick?
I'll do it.
All right. Please.
The pilot tax incentive you have before you this evening for Northridge, now modified further, does not solve the concerns I and many others have, concerns we've been expressing now for months. Pivoting to a 5-year 100% tax exemption may solve your issue of consent by both the county commission and school board, but it certainly hasn't gained my support. 5 years is still a very long period of time. 5 years is the time in which 50% of new businesses fail. A 100% tax exemption for 5 years gives one business a huge advantage over another business. If you approve a 5-year tax exemption via this pilot, you are picking winners and losers. If the project includes just one golf simulator, as I've expressed to you, you are unfairly propping up my competition. One by one, via these tax incentivized developments, you would potentially be putting me out of business. The same goes for gym and fitness business owners. The same goes for any other existing business that would be competing against the lavish amenities these apartment complexes are providing for their tenants and guests. 300 to 500 tenants and all of their guests, that's huge. In a community of our size, for niche businesses like mine with indoor golf or with gym and fitness studios and others, that audience represents a huge portion of our current and potential businesses. I and others who have competing businesses have not been given due weight as prescribed by North Dakota Century Code. The intention of the pilot program, the application of pilots, the primary sector qualifier, and timelines, all that is up for debate for both policy and legal discussions. However, what should not be up for debate is the competition piece, the legal requirement for you to give due weight and ensure existing businesses, like my business and many others, are not forced to compete with tax-incentivized newer expanding businesses to our substantial detriment. It's very clear in NDCC 4057.1 where these tax incentives are derived. You asked Simplot prior to moving forward with your pursuit of Agristo. You verified Simplot did not view Agristo as a competitor. They utilize different raw potatoes. They supply their products to different end users. If Simplot was a competitor, there is no way you would have incentivized Agristo to come to our community. With this contradiction, you're telling all of us small local business owners that we matter much less than big business, or quite frankly, that we don't matter at all when it comes to these discussions of tax incentivized competition. Due weight shouldn't mean an overall greater good, a net bottom line calculation for the city's tax base. Albatross goes out of business. 3 small local gym owners go out of business. Bob Calgar and other small landlords each take losses on a property or two. The tax base net gain with these large apartment complexes' future tax payments shouldn't justify padding the pockets of less than a handful of developers at the expense of the rest of us small-time players. It seems as though most of you have been okay with this thought process. I'm hoping that you can see it differently now and change course. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krausnick. Any further comments this evening, Ms.
That's all
Lundmark?
I have tonight.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to item 5, action items. I've got on my list 5.3, 5.4, 5.10, and 5.13. And then we will go into executive session for item 5.14 after that, 5.6. Any other ones council members wanted pulled for this evening's discussion?
Mr. Mayor, did you pull the pilot? I'm sorry, I don't know what number that is.
Yeah, I got that as 5.13 in mine. So yes.
Okay, yep, okay, thank you.
All right, so we've got, looks like we'll move forward on items 5.1, 5.2, 5.5, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, 5.11, and 5.12. I get a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Motion by Berg, second by Weigel. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So, Ms. Storstad, we got 5.3, 5.4, 5.6, 5.10, and 5.13 to read in.
5.3, Fire Chief Employment Agreement.
All right. I don't know if you had any particular questions on that one, Ms. Lunsky. We do have Mr. Marcotte here today, so I might actually have him come. I know he's been here before, I might have him introduce himself here at the end of it, but if you have any questions related to the contract or otherwise, please.
I think my questions are more for Tangi. She was ready. I just thought if we could talk about the sick leave and vacation, and I don't want to create a panic, but I've never heard of a sick leave being paid out and accumulating so many hours. And I'm just curious, how much does the city have on the books to compensate for that? Or what is the annual payout for sick time?
I can get you those numbers for the annual payout of sick leave.
Okay.
Yep, I can provide the council with that.
Yeah, and I just thought if the council wanted to talk that, right now it's 960 hours you can carry of sick time, and then anything over that you can cash out at 50%?
Up to 112 hours you can cash out at 50%.
And then, yeah, I would be curious to know too, when someone does resign or retire, what's the average payout? I just think in this day and age, we want to encourage people to take sick time when they're sick, not spread that, and also take that vacation. I think we're talking about mental health so much. We should encourage employees to take vacation when possible, not to try to bank it.
Mayor Boczynski, members of the council, we do have a cap on vacation. The carryover is 2 years for civil service employees, and our department head contracts have a 3-year carryover max for vacation. So that does incentivize employees to utilize their vacation as they accrue, otherwise they will lose that. The vacation accumulation and payout after 5 years of employment is when employees are eligible for that payout if they resign or retire, and then anything over 960 hours annually, they could get a payout of up to 112 hours at 50%. I will provide the city council with the last 5 years of what our payouts are, so you have some idea of what that would be, and I'll run some averages for the council.
That'd be great. And then, do you know also, like, do you compare to Fargo, Bismarck? Do they have the same policies?
Some do have. I don't know specifically what the payout is. Sometimes it's 45 days, sometimes there's an hour cap.
Okay.
I can take a look at what other entities have as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, well, we got any questions for
I was
Tanji?
just
Otherwise,
gonna
I was
add
going to
that-
introduce or have Chief come up. You want to say anything first? Or?
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I know the university, after 10 years, you can get 10% of your sick leave. And then you can have up to 240 hours of vacation that you roll forward. Anything over that, you lose it. So you can keep that much. Personally, I actually like what the city of Grand Forks does. I look at it from the opposite. I completely understand what you're saying, and I think Mr. Sandy and I have talked about this, that you want people to use that sick leave when they are sick. However, on the flip side, you have people that don't get sick very often, and they're going to build up. Myself, personally, I've got about 1,000 hours of sick leave because I don't get sick very often, and my son doesn't get sick very often. And so I'm earning a benefit that I will never get to utilize but 10% because I don't call in sick because I don't get sick. And so I think the city does it the right way. I think it's a good thing for the employees as an incentive that when they aren't sick, that they do show up and just don't use sick time to burn it, because on the flip side, the only people that get 100% of that benefit are the people that use all their sick time every single year. And so I think there's just two ways to look at it. And so that's just what I throw out there. But I agree with you. If people are sick, they should stay home.
Have we had an issue with people coming to work sick, as department heads reported? I guess you want people you don't want someone to use their sick day as an extra vacation day either. You'd want them to come to work, because if they don't, someone else has to cover for them, which in the PD or fire might mean overtime or more cost to the city. So I guess, has it been an issue? I mean, it seems to be a benefit that employees like. Has there been employee concern about that? Or I guess, where are we at, Tanji? And then Ms. Berg, I'll go to you
Mayor
after that.
Boczynski, members of the council, there has been no notable instances of employees coming to work sick. That's been reported or that has been drawn to our attention. We did change a benefit, I want to say maybe 5 years ago. The city council moved we had a sick leave accrual or a bonus day if people didn't use or use less than 8 hours of sick leave, that we changed that. This council changed that so that they could earn wellness hours. That was a change that we recently made, just so people didn't feel like they needed to come to work sick, just to earn that bonus day. So we did make a change.
Ms. Berg, did you have a comment?
I just have a question. Is there something with ND PERS where you can use your sick leave to purchase credits?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so,
Yes and no.
yeah, okay.
All right, any further comments related to that? Otherwise, we'll, Mr. Veen, please.
Yeah, Tanji, I think I understand it, but many of the benefits you talked about here are the contract benefits for those that are under contract versus civil service benefits.
Yes.
And there is a difference in part because you're on a contract, you're at will versus, and so the risks are higher, right?
Correct.
And so therefore, there are two different categories.
There are two different categories, correct.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it too. And I still haven't changed my philosophy on contract versus civil service. So.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Veen, with that, Mr. Marcotte, just why don't you come up, introduce yourself one more time. We're definitely excited to have you stepping into Chief Lorenz's role, and you'll be turning in your deputy chief hat for chief hat come tomorrow morning. So
Yes, sir.
if this passes, excuse me, if this passes, so.
Mayor Berchenski, members of council, Chuck Marcotte. I was born and raised in this community. I've lived here all but 6 years of my life. And that 6 years taught me that this is where I needed to be. I've been in the fire service for 26 years, 6 years in Bismarck, 20 with the city. Worked in every rank from firefighter up to deputy chief, and most recently I've been overseeing PSAP operations for the last number of months. This is just another one of those list of phenomenal opportunities that the city's afforded me that I plan to make good on. So I appreciate the time and I appreciate the opportunity to lead and be part of the team.
All right. Thank you for that. Any questions for potentially soon-to-be chief? All right. Thank you. And Mr. Gosta, just so I'm correct in this, our ordinance has, it's ordained within the city that our department heads are contracted. It's not something we made up at this point.
Correct. There's an exception for those department heads that were
grandfathered in.
They're still under their whatever they were under at the time, civil service at the time. It would be anybody that would be new.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that. Any further comments? Otherwise, look for a motion.
Move approval.
Got a motion to approve from President Sandy, second from Ms. Osowski. Any further comment? Mr. Veen, please.
Yeah, first of all, this is a good discussion. I'm glad we're having it. When I said I'm in favor of civil service versus contract, it's nothing against the individual. In fact, I will probably vote for the individual because I like it, but I will stay on record that's not my favorite.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have a motion and second. Any further comment?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, President Sandy, please.
Just a quick note that how lucky we are to have such good, talented people within all our city departments where it's always the next person up. And I'm very proud that when the new chief stands up and says that he wants to be in Grand Forks and he's dedicated to it, I think we're dedicated to him and his service as well. So I really appreciate how lucky we are to have such good people. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, well said. All right, with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.4, ordinance relating to alcohol compliance.
All right, I know we got Marcus up to speak on this, and then I know Ms. Osowski had some questions.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. So,
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, why don't you go ahead, and we'll start with that then.
yeah, I guess my question is after reading the comment online, it talks about how we're different from other cities within our state. And so I'm just kind of wondering what other cities are doing with the alcohol compliance.
And Marcus, I don't know if that's the best question for Chief or for you, but if you want to try to answer it, and then we could.
Yep, so typically when I draft an ordinance, I look at Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot. So Fargo has two. They have a 1 year and an 18-month. The 1 year is specific to companies like Happy Harry's. The 18-month would be specific to a lot of our liquor establishments that are class 4s. So ours would be the greatest length out of all of them. Bismarck's is 1 year as well. Minot's I was not able to find before the meeting, but it's not set in stone. We can have discussions, and I'm open to amending it. This was suggested by the police department, the 3 years, but it wasn't set in stone. And we can definitely discuss amending it however city council would like.
I mean, I'm not for selling alcohol to minors, but I do think we should be more in line with other cities within our state. So I guess, even putting them all at 18 months, I would be more in favor of that, I guess, than the 3 years. But
one thing to keep in mind too is our dollar figures are substantially less. Both Fargo and Bismarck are $500 for a first offense, $700 or higher for a second offense. So we replace the high fine with suspending the license. So it could be the inverse if you want to go the higher fine versus
So
suspending the
are we
license.
actually like suspending the license, or are they like on probation?
So it would be a one-day suspension. The only time they would lose their license is if they get a fifth or higher offense.
Okay, but there's a 3-year probation, correct?
Correct, yes. So the 3-year probation is
What does
basic.
that entail?
It's just counting their violations. So if you get a violation today, it would be 9/2 of 2028 when you would be off of probation. So theoretically, you could get, well, I shouldn't say that because technically, let's say you get one on 9/2 of 2025, and then you get one on 9/1 of 2028. The way this reads, it would be, you would get your second violation, but then that first violation would count again if you got another one the next year. Does that make sense?
Not really. So how many violations can they get in the 3-year time period then? And what exactly is the consequences? Are they no longer allowed to sell liquor within the
Marcus?
community? Do they have to go to court?
Oh, yeah, you could read it. Marcus, how do you pronounce your last name? So I don't have to call you Marcus.
Skonechny.
Skonechny, okay. Ms. Oselski, so the first offense is a fine, $100 to $300. Second offense within 3 years, same thing, they get a fine, but their license could be suspended for 1 day up to 5 days. For a third offense during that period, the license can be suspended for 10 to 30 days. If it's a fourth violation within those 3 years, it can be up to 180 days. If you have a fifth offense within those 3 years, you could possibly have your license revoked. So it steps up.
Okay, thank you.
You know, if someone's selling to minors four or five times, you know, I think we probably should try to understand why that's happening. President Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mayor. When does the clock, Mr. Skonechny, when does the clock start over? If I have a violation today, no matter what, it's 3 years from today and the clock ends, or if I have another violation in 2 years and 9 months, do I go back on probation for 3 years from that date?
The way I have it written is kind of twofold. So it would be, you get one, and then you get that second one, that would be your second offense. But that second offense will become a first offense once that first 3 years is expired. Does that make sense?
I do. So if you get another offense within 3 years, the clock starts over at that time, and you still have to go another 3 years from the second offense. I really appreciate that our city attorney's office has drafted this ordinance, and I think it's very important. And certainly, we don't want anyone selling alcohol to minors, and it's obviously very important for our community. I do think in its current status, it's too punitive for the business owners, and I would be more apt to say we should increase the fine and reduce the probationary period, similar to the other cities. But that's my opinion. And again, thank you for drafting all the good work that you put together.
President Sandy, do you have any, I mean, he can bring something back, but anything in mind just off the top of your head, like 300 for the first, 500,000? What would you, any ideas of what you'd like to see, have it ramp up if that, the route it goes?
I'd probably take a look at what the other cities do, as he already has. And
Yeah.
there's no reason why we couldn't be in the middle upper side of the fees. But similarly, I think we're currently at 2 years. I think 2 years is even a long time for organizations. I'm not saying that 2 years is wrong, but maybe with the higher penalties, we go to 18 months. Just an idea.
Sounds good. one question I had, Chief, how often are compliance checks done? Is this something, and maybe if Marcus knows, if you know, you can say the answer, but are they done at random, multiple times a year? Because if they're only done once a year, then maybe 3 years isn't too long, because it's only twice potentially within that 3 years. But what is the length, and how do people, I mean, obviously you don't want them to know they're coming, but there's some cadence to it, I'm assuming.
Since I've been city prosecutor, there've been 3 tobacco checks and 2 alcohol compliance checks.
Per year?
No, in total.
Oh,
So
in-
the 2 years that I've been city prosecutor.
Okay.
One thing to keep in mind, though, is this is a new ordinance because the Attorney General used to do this. And then we found out last year that the Attorney General no longer does it. So this was kind of a avenue for us to bring in punishments for the business, because the server is getting a B misdemeanor charge, and depending on who their judge is, if it's in district court or municipal court, the charges are a little different as far as they're probably going to get a deferred sentence, so it'll come off the record in a year in municipal court. They may not get that in district court. So the way it was set up was the business was punished by the AG's office, the server was punished by municipal or district court. Now the business is, for lack of a better term, getting off scot-free for the better part of a year, whereas their servers are getting B misdemeanors that theoretically could affect their lives for a longer period. And some of it is on the server, some of it is on the business. I get both sides. This is just, it was more of an avenue to start the discussion. I was given a 1-page set of notes, a 3-year time period, and I drafted an ordinance based off of that.
Okay. I'm going to open up to comments. I do want Chief at some point to come up and give your comments on it, but would you like to speak first or hear Chief first? Okay, please go ahead, Ms. Lunsky.
Can you tell us what happens now if someone fails?
As far as for the alcohol compliance?
Yes.
I believe nothing happens because I have no avenue to prosecute. So if, let's say, the server fails, the server will get a citation for a court date. They'll appear and they'll either plead not guilty or guilty. If they plead not guilty, then we as the city prosecutors take them to trial, prove the case, and then they're convicted of a B misdemeanor. If they plead guilty at initial appearance, they're usually given a deferred imposition, so it'll come off their record in a year.
So right now, if someone gets an offense, is the establishment charged the $100 or the server?
The way this ordinance is drafted, it would be the establishment, but the server would get the B misdemeanor charge under municipal ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mayor?
Go ahead. Mr. Weigel.
I already forgot how to say your last name, so I'm going to go with Marcus. This differs greatly from our tobacco, correct?
In some ways, yes.
Okay.
As far as tobacco is 1 year. This is
Yep.
3 years. Other than that, the only difference is the revocation aspect.
Yep. Yeah, and so I was reading through that, and so it looks like for tobacco, and I'm not arguing which one's worse. I think you could argue both ways. But just for the sake of argument and keeping things uniform, maybe, for a first offense with tobacco, it's a penalty of $100 to $300, and that's it. For a second offense within 1 year, it's still that $100 to $300 and the suspension of the license for not less than 1 day and not more than 5 days. It seems like, and it goes on for a third, fourth, fifth offense and so on. I'd either be in favor of updating both of them and having the same timeline for both. And whether that's 1 year, 3 years, I think we could have that argument, but I think it'd be good to have some uniformity to both substances. Mr. Gosted, do you have something to add?
I do have something to add. And this is and maybe it's the nature of the beast in bringing an ordinance in to city council without going through the cycle of the committee of the whole, and having the opportunity to have that initial discussion at a committee of the whole to begin with, versus having this as the first reading. And so my thought process is that the council, because there's some concerns that have been raised, legitimate concerns raised by the business community. At least we had a citizen comment tonight. There's concerns by council members about making sure that we're trying to be consistent with selling certain products to underage individuals, that the council moves to postpone this particular item and have it brought to the committee of the whole next week, where we can draft up and take a look at what we've got for the tobacco and try to make it consistent, and also take a little bit closer look at Bismarck and Fargo, and try to be as, not suggesting that Fargo and Bismarck are the gold standard, but at least take a look at what they've got and come up with maybe something that is less than the 3-year issue. Because as Mr. Sandy pointed out, you can get an offense today, that starts 3-year. You can get an offense the next day, that starts another 3-year window. And that may be problematic, but to the mayor's point, at that level, we should probably start looking at why that's occurring. And I don't think the individual, I know the individual that spoke for citizen comments say that's not the issue with their organization at all. But if we do have those problems, we want, from the prosecution standpoint, we want the ability to pursue not only the employee, but also the business establishment that right now, because there's a vacuum that has occurred given the Attorney General's office not proceeding, we should take that responsibility on. So that would be my suggestion to the council, is to postpone this first reading, have it go through the regular cycle of the cow, and that way we would have a cow plus 2 city council meetings to fully vet this.
So do we have a motion to postpone until September 8th? We got a motion from Friedhoff, second from Lunsky. So Chief, you're off the hook. Why don't you be prepared to speak on the item 6 days from today? Thank you. All right, any further discussion on postponement? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.6, ordinance relating to permits allowing low-speed vehicles on Greenway.
All right. Can't remember who had asked to have this one pulled, but Ms. Berg, please, and maybe, I know Mr. Phelan had some of the genesis of this as well, but let's talk through it, and then we could decide if we go a similar route. But please, Ms. Berg.
Yes, I was a little confused because there's a mobility device policy that was in the attachment, and in it, it describes that you can just say that you have a disability and you don't have to say anything else, and then that's the policy. Law enforcement has to respect that unless if they observe something contrary to what you just said, versus what I read later where you need a permit. And so I guess I'm a little confused as to which one we're looking at and which one applies, or both.
It was my understanding that their policy was more of a suggestion to be used in the drafting of the document, and then the permit application was actually what came to fruition from discussions between different city offices, unless the chief has a different, no.
That help answer your question? I think the permitting is what would be required in order to do this. So that would, the first part was how they got to deciding that permit was the way to go, rather than just asking the individual. You'd have to go through the process of getting a permit before you were able to take a vehicle out there.
And the permit is specific to vehicles that are greater than the 30 inches in, whatever the word is I used. Because there's I think the confusion is in the fact that there's, anything under 30 inches is already allowed. It's the over the 30 inches. So it would be the golf carts and bigger or wider.
So the mobility device, whatever I mentioned, where did that come from? Like, what policy is that from?
That, as far as I know, is from Kim Greendahl and the Greenway.
I think Councilmember Berg and Mayor Brzezinski, we were going to run the permitting through the city clerk's office and Sherry, and maybe she can kind of give us background in how she reviews these various permits.
Mayor Buczynski, members of City Council. I know a little bit about this. I met with Deputy Chief Mackey, and he said this comes about because we have some people who want to enjoy the Greenway trails, but they need a different type of vehicle. It's easier for them to be able to use. These would be low speed, I believe electric, so they wouldn't be a noise concern. And it would be very specific that anyone using this, you're not going to be able to pile your whole family on there. It's for your use. And we would do the permitting through finance, and there'll be a placard that the vehicle that has gone through the approval process once we receive the application, and there'll be a small fee for getting this permit. And then you'll have a placard similar to like a license plate, only with the placard, it'll go in your window, and that'll have to be on the vehicle so they know that you're authorized. And it's purely came about because there are some citizens in town that want to utilize, and they have, I understand one person has a family member that's a youth, wants to be able to go down and enjoy fishing, participate in other activities on the Greenway with their family, but they can't do it due to their mobility concerns with other types of vehicles that are allowed. So this would give them some more freedom and flexibility to use it. As to the exact measurements of the vehicles, I believe that's something that Deputy Chief Mackey has worked through the Greenway group on coming to terms with what those vehicle requirements would be, what an inspection process would be. And we could provide more information on some of those specifics to you for if you wanted to put it on call for next time, or else at the next council meeting where it would come back. But the Greenway Committee came to an agreement that they were all in favor of this, so.
I guess, so what I'm looking at is on the bottom, it says policy for OPDMD. Do we know what that is? Because it's talking about Grand Forks City. And so is this a policy? Because if this policy is enacted and then we have this one, they're contradicting themselves, because this one over here says that you can just say that you have a disability in addition to having a placard.
Sorry, Mayor, but
She's reading the mobility device policy, but I guess wouldn't that be similar to like a vehicle? Like if you can't just say that you have a disability, you still have to have the disabled placard.
It's literally saying you can.
And I don't know, this is the first time I've ever seen this policy. Do you have the page, Ms. Lundmark?
That's what I'm pulling up the staff report now. Mayor Buczynski, members of City Council. The policy, my understanding is that policy was already in place. And so what the Greenway Technical Committee reviewed and approved was a change. Previously, there were only up to 30-inch wide, whatever the dimension in there that was in the policy was allowed. But now they're looking to amend that so that it would allow these other types of mobility assistive devices to be used.
I guess when I go to the next page, it's just, there's a very large statement of the Department of Justice and ADA regulations that the claim of a mobility disability must be considered valid as long as not contradicted by observable fact. And so I'm supportive of the placard if it's helpful. However, I want to, I guess, be clear on if somebody has it's not their routine thing and they want to go down to the ramp, like, are they able to do that without this permit?
And Mayor Buczynski, Councilmember Berg, I would have to defer to City Attorney whether or not, how that would play out and come together. I've just recently received this on Friday as well, because I think it was worked on more between the police department, Deputy Chief Mackey, and City Attorney's office, along with Greenway. But I know that we visited mostly on the permitting side of things and how we could handle that and ensure that there would be a way. The concern was that the Greenway has always tried to keep as few vehicles off as possible. So they wanted to have some type of way of still exercising some control over who is using vehicles down there. And I believe that's what they were trying to work towards with the proposed ordinance and putting in the placard, so there'd be a way that if someone doesn't need to use the device, there would be a way to kind of regulate that somehow?
And I think you're talking about permitting the vehicle, not the person. So I think the difference is the vehicle versus the person. The vehicle has to be permitted regardless if the person hasn't, they can, we're not deciding whether they have a mobility. They'll have to say that unless it's an observable fact, but they still have to get the vehicle permitted, just like you would, driving a vehicle. If you wanted to get handicap plates on it and park in the handicap stall. That's my understanding. Is that logical, Mr. Gosted?
It's logical because the way it's going to be teed up is they'll come in and request this permit. Nobody's going to sit and make judgments as to their representations, right? And I think it's just a matter of trying to get some sense of control as to what is being utilized on the Greenway and being consistent. I don't think it's going to change anything from the policy other than there is going to be this permitting requirement to put in a placard on the device itself.
I just keep going back to what I'm reading, and I read it differently than how you're reading it. Like I said, I'm supportive of this, but I would really like clarification on, is this still applicable, so that if people aren't a routine user, there isn't this huge process to go through, so that persons with disabilities and have mobility issues can still access according to ADA guidelines.
And we can certainly provide that information before the second reading.
Perfect. Then I move approval.
All right, we got a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Got a second from Ms. Osowski. You were verbal, so we gave you the first one. Any further discussion on item 5.6? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.10 is a letter of no objection for project 8975, 2025 drain number 4 water resource district improvements.
And I think the main question, and I know President Sandy can probably ask it better, what's the cost? Is there a cost to us locally on this, or what? Spell out where the cost is coming from to compensate for this project.
There we go. I always think it's always on. The cost for this thing, some of the background is this is a legal drain, and a legal drain enjoys some certain provisions under state statutes. The legal drain is under the jurisdiction of the Grand Forks Water Resource District. By the way, I want to acknowledge we have the chairman of the district here, Bob Dries, tonight. They've gone through a process. They've worked with property owners. They've gone through a process. I'm going to say that spans a couple of years. The short answer to your question is that they put the question of paying for the improvement to a vote of the affected property owners, and the vote passed. And that just happened here in the last couple of weeks. For the Corps to start evaluating that, because they will need a Corps permit, they do need the letter of no objection from us as the local sponsor, because Merrifield Road is part of our flood protection project, and the ditch itself was relocated moved and brought up to standards as part of that. I could talk a lot more about it in background, but that's the super short cliff notes of the question, I believe.
All right, President Sandy, do you have anything further on that item?
But just, again, the status, they agreed to pay for it, but the staff report says the costs are being special assessed. Whenever I see a special assessment, typically there's a city share. I'm just confirming that 100% of the project is being special assessed, and if not, what percentage share is the city's? That's all.
Yes, and when we reference special assessments here, it's special assessments that are being created under the Water Resource District, so there's no cost share to the city on that particular item. It is on the agenda tonight as information only, because there's a lot of moving parts if you really look in the report. I didn't want to try to push council into a decision when this is kind of the first time you've seen it. So, it is on as information tonight. We can talk about it in more detail at the next week at the Committee of the Whole also.
So are you asking for a postponement on this, or there's no action to be taken at this time?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's just
No, that was for,
information.
that was for Mr. Grasser.
Just
Okay.
for information only, so.
Okay, so we don't need a motion
You
on
can
this.
accept that, or I think, I believe you don't need to take an action on it at all.
Okay. Well, let's not take an action on it then, if everybody's okay with that. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, moving on then to 5.13, Northridge Construction Tax Incentive Application Pilot.
All right, thank you. Mr. Phelan, do you want to tell us how we got to where we are today? And
Mayor and members of the City Council, as you recall, I don't know, a month or so ago, we agreed to negotiate this particular project, this Northridge construction project. Prior to the City Council, I think on July 21st, agreeing to negotiate, our colleagues at both the school board and at the Grand Forks County Commission agreed to negotiate regarding this particular project. This project is unique, and I mentioned 5 other projects. It's unique in the respect of the developer is trying to get this project started this year, where the remaining 5 projects that I mentioned in our staff report are scheduled for next year, so we do have some further time on this one. So we spent some extra time on this, and the developer was really trying to get this project to move forward within that 5-year period of time. And so the difference in this particular project is that they've got some additional, an additional investor in this particular project. So as I noted in the staff report, there's more equity in this project than was prior, and so there's less debt financing. They've changed some of the unit mixes also, so they basically the unit mixes are more based on studios, 2 bedrooms, and they've eliminated 4-bedroom units in this particular project. We did have Baker Tilly review this particular project regarding the financing, and so the assumption on this particular project is that they would take out a 25-year financing, and that 25 years would be, instead of 70% debt financing, it'd be 65% debt financing, and that at 100% financing, this project would meet the debt coverage of 1.2. And so what the developer has agreed to in this case is to finance the project and to add the risk onto themselves in the fact that they are planning to refinance this project within this 5-year window, with the sense that this interest rates likely will go down within the 5-year period of time. They will likely refinance this project, and so before the 5-year period of time, and that's how we got them to agree that they would move forward with this project within that 5-year period of time. I think the developer is looking at financing this project through less traditional ways that we've normally done projects, which would be through bank financing. And so they're looking at debt and equity partners that wouldn't necessarily be traditional bank financing. And so that group and those investors are willing to take a further risk on this particular project. And as you remember on some of these projects that probably need something maybe of 10 years, Mr. Gostad and I were here and we talked about, well, if they get a 10-year, what if the interest rate goes down? We were talking about doing clawbacks within, that time period. In this case, 5 years is a pretty short term that likely something's, we're not going to have a clawback, but this is really pushing all the risk onto them with after the 5 years. They've agreed to do it with their investors and are willing to move forward with it. The other positive part of this is, you traditionally, you have policies where you approve without, kind of per city policy, remodeling exemptions for both residential and commercial. Our current policy is a 5-year 100%. You approve those per standard city policy. The Renaissance zone, the other thing we looked at with the Renaissance zone, the state legislature just moved. They used to have 5-year 100% were the max. The states moved Renaissance zone areas, and as you recall, our Renaissance zone is along Gateway Drive. It's in the Midtown, kind of the Grand Cities Mall area, and it's in our downtown area. They've moved that from 5 to 8 years with the recognition that a lot of projects need more than 5 years. So really, the developer wants to move forward. And this was a way that we heard from the school district and the county that when possible, they want us to try to keep these projects within our authority, which is the 5 years. So that's how we got to where we are today. The developer is willing to move forward within that. It's within your authority. And so that's how we got to where we are today. The developer is willing to move forward. They're willing to put more risk onto themselves and their financial partners to move the project forward now. With that, I'd answer any questions, and I'd also note that Mr. Miscavige, on behalf of Northridge, is also here if you have any specific questions.
All right, council, any questions, comments? Open it up. Mr. Friedhoffs, please.
So I'm absolutely for this. I think we're still, we can go back and forth all day. Some people say we have open apartments everywhere, and I hear very different being in the community. So especially something that looks like it's going to get started this year is super important. And, another nice place in the community is really something good for us. So I'll be voting yes on this.
Thank you, Mr. Friedhoffs. Any further comments? Council? Ms. Osowski, please, and then President Sandy lets you go right afterwards. She just barely beat you to it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I definitely do not support this at all. I do not think that we should be offering tax incentives to private apartment buildings, especially, these aren't just basic apartments that are being built. They have swimming pools. I believe this one has a pickleball course. I don't understand why we are giving tax incentives to people who want to build pickleball courts when we are trying to build our own pickleball courts and need to rely on some of the rent to help pay for that facility. I could maybe get behind this type of pilot for just apartments, but with adding the weight rooms and everything like that, I just think it's above and beyond, and we really shouldn't be tax incentivizing these. And also, I guess I'm just really confused about how, we rely on Baker Tilly a lot and we pay them a lot of money, and how we went from, the people coming to us saying that they need 100% for 20 years, and now maybe 80% for 20 years, and now all of a sudden we're down to 5 years at 100%. I understand that they got new investors, but here's another question that I really have is, when we're giving out pilot incentives like this, after a company receives a pilot exemption, is there anything in there stating we're talking about them going out and finding additional investors? Because what I get nervous about is these people coming and asking for pilots. We approve a pilot because we're being told that they can't build it unless they get these tax incentives. And then are they going out and finding other investors then to kind of help pad their pockets? Is there anything in our pilot program about that?
Mr. Gossett,
Ms. Osowski, I think the question is, in the meantime between when it was first evaluated to when we're evaluating now, they did go out and get some initial investment, more and also in the equity side. And that investment group is willing to take additional risk right now. That I will say, the other 5 projects, if I brought them forward to you, none of those 5 projects or those developers are willing to take this kind of risk in their cases. So likely those will be back with you with 5-year plus incentives as part of their project. Some are very similar to this particular project. And if you look at we did have Baker Tilly look at it. They did some hypotheticals. Right now the interest rate would have to go down to 5.2% on a 30-year debt financing to get to that 1.2 times. On a 25-year, it'd have to get down to 4.4%. And so that's kind of the theoretical of what they're looking at. Obviously, everyone's predicting over this to the end of the year, we're going to have some interest rates that are going to go down, and probably into next year. will also go down. So they're betting on what's going to happen. They want to be the first in on building a project. And so they're trying to be more aggressive. And they get the fact that it's going to be hard for a project like this to get more than 5-year pilot incentives from those other two taxing entities. So they're willing to take the risk.
Okay, is there anything though stating that they can't find additional investors after they've received a tax incentive from the city?
Mr. Gasted?
Councilmember Osowski and members of the council and mayor, no, there isn't. Because the way the pilot reads is that if there is a new project owner, so if it's XYZ Inc. is the owner, and they transfer, that entity transfers the project to another entity or to another person, or assigns it, then the pilot would have to come back. It's not an assignable to another owner.
Right, because pilots aren't transferable. But.
Correct. But what you're talking about is shareholders or members of an LLC, how many members of an LLC, how many shareholders, that there's nothing in the pilot statutes that talk about, that's really not an assignment because the entity still owns the project. It's just the number of folks that may be involved as owners. So you're effectively, I haven't seen anything where we start talking about diluting ownership, going from 2 members to 5. That's not an assignment. That's just new people making investments into the entity itself.
Right, but we issue pilots basically to help make sure that the project happens for our community. And so now here we are with Northridge Construction, and at first they were stating that they would not be able to complete this project unless they received a giant tax break. But now they went out and found more investors, and here we are, and they technically don't need that 20 years. And so my point is are they, like, if they get a pilot from us and then they go and they get a bunch of other investors, do they necessarily need that pilot anymore? And should there be some, like, are we allowed to put something within our pilot program that they can't do that?
We certainly can draft in provisions about preventing dilution of ownership in the entity that owns and operates the project, if that's the wishes of the council.
I mean, maybe that's a question for the developer out there. I mean, generally speaking, you need leverage in order to make these things work, which is where the debt financing comes in. So maybe you could speak to that question, help us understand a little better.
Yep. Thank you. I think when you look at a project individually, it doesn't matter how many investors are in the project. Everything deals with return on costs. And when your return on costs are below your current interest rate, there is a negative yield. And so it wouldn't matter if you paid complete cash, you still not would meet an acceptable leveraged return for those investors. So I'm not worried about our capital partners showing up for this project. They've been a great partner of ours for 14 plus years. They've got a lot of assets in the community, and they'll perform.
So, Mr. Miscavige, I guess then when you were originally asking for the 20-year pilot, did you do your due diligence to go out and try to find other investors?
Well, we were planning on owning this property ourselves, and my partner in the land approached me as this stuff was progressing and said that his group would like to step into the project, and they were comfortable with the risk. And we never asked for a 20-year.
Thank you.
President Sandy, do you have a comment? You can sit down, Mr.
Yeah, I was just going to say that although I appreciate Ms. Osowski's concern, which these are valid questions to ask, I think as a community, these are hard things to deal with simply because, you know, we need growth in our community. We need additional residences. I hear from people that say that we don't have enough affordable housing. I don't know how we can build affordable housing. If Mr. Miscavige could build affordable housing, he'd be doing it all day long because he'd make so much money doing it. There are any number of builders that would want to build things where they could make money. I don't know if any of you or Ms. Osowski or anyone in the audience has been looking around, but there isn't a line of people coming to Grand Forks wanting to invest. I think anytime somebody raises their hand and is willing to put their money into our community to try to make Grand Forks a better place and try to provide additional housing, in addition to, of course, we need people building commercial, we do need development. Any additional housing is helpful for our community. And anyone that wants to do it, I think we should be thanking them, we should be thanking them. And so I will move approval of the 5-year 100% pilot project. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we got a motion, President Sandy, second from Ms. Lunsky, and then open up to further discussion or comments. Let's go, Ms. Lunsky, and we'll go to you, Mr. Veen. She did second it, so.
I just wanted to say, I think we have to think of the young people coming into the community. They really demand something different. They want these high-level places to live, and we really want to retain those people. So I think we have to keep that in mind. There's also, this summer in Fargo, they had 15 projects that ended their pilot, generating $173 million in property value that's now contributing to their tax base. So it's not, I think people think we're giving away money, but we're saving for the future or planning for the future. So I will be voting yes for this also.
Mr. Veen, please.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts. Mr. Field, maybe you could help me. When Baker Tilly did this latest assessment, I think that was an attachment. Is that right to this?
That is
I
correct. There is
don't
an
know, there's a
attachment.
bunch of figures on there. If
Yeah.
I could understand what it actually meant to have all of that. Could you explain that?
Sure. If you look at the, maybe the second page, the first attachment, but the second one, there's two options on there. That's Baker Tilly looking at it, and they broke down the project 65% equity, 65% mortgage, 35% equity. And you can see where they broke it down, $24 million mortgage with an almost $13 million equity injection into the project. Again, they looked at the project, it is a $37 million project. What we did with City Assessor Tammy Lazur, she looked at what the property taxes would be on this particular project. So if you look on the bottom, that's estimated at about $460,000. So if you look on that in blue, it says without the tax incentive, which is that 100% incentive, it would be at 0.98. And so there's nowhere where you would go to get financing if your return is less than 1. Okay, and the target that Baker Tilly is using is 1.2. And so, and then you can see in kind of that more pink color, it says with, which is that 100% tax incentive. With, you can reach the 1.2 margin. And so then we also looked at, on the second part, we looked at different things. And so really what their goal is over this time period is that you are going to be able to reduce that mortgage interest rate with what's going to happen in the next 5 years to reduce the need over the next 5 years. And if you look at the interest rate on the second one, what would the interest rate have to be in that same 25-year mortgage? It'd have to be at 4.4%. She also, Ms. Hewitt also ran it on a 30-year note, and I think it's more like a 5.2%. is what the interest rate needs to be. So we tried to run it in a sensitized way because really everyone's asking, well, what does the interest rate need to be? I think what she's saying under a typical, sometimes you've seen developers come in with 25-year loans, sometimes they come in with 30-year loans. But what she's saying is part of this exercise, with a 25-year note, it needs to be around 4.4 in that neighborhood, plus or minus. With a 30-year note, it's got to be around 5.2. And so those are the targets. And those are some of the questions. Well, why haven't we seen these projects before? Well, if you look at where interest rates have been for the last several years, they've been at that 4 to 5%. And that's where a lot of these projects that are more greenfield related, we haven't seen any requests for incentives, is because the interest rates are so much lower. And so what we're suffering with, what the whole country is suffering with, is higher interest rates, higher building costs, and how do we make these projects go without an incentive?
Thanks. I was trying to understand that because it seems so much different the second time than it was the first time, and why the difference?
And if I could add, Mr. Bean, I think the difference is, if we were to run, last time you saw this, it was a 15-year, 80% blend. And what we try to do is, as rents increase, as the building fills up, we can start decreasing the property tax incentive, if you will. But theoretically, you're going to see some projects like we've looked at some of the low and moderate income properties or projects that are going to come your way. They're restricted about how much they can raise rents and those sorts of things. You're going to see, once we get to, their 5-year 100%, their ability to raise revenue is so small and incremental, they're likely going to need that 5-year 100% over that 20-year period of time to make those projects go. In this case, it's a market rate place where they feel like they can increase rents enough, they can renegotiate rates into the future, and some of these other projects aren't going to have those same flexibility that this project has.
Okay. I mean, a lot of times when I look at this pilot, I kind of look at them as a public-private partnership of what we need to do. But I'm trying to align with what the need is to make sure that this is something that we should invest in. And I may be wrong with this, but I just said, we're looking for affordable and available housing, because we either have the numbers are low, although we've heard two different sides to that. Some say that there's plenty of vacancies, others saying that we're not, that would solve a housing shortage. Is there a point in time where we would define what that shortage actually is and that we would not continue this type of a thing? Or are we setting ourselves up forever to be doing pilots for every apartment complex that comes in?
Mayor Buczynski and members of the City Council, Councilmember Veen, no. I think the answer is no. If interest rates come down, there won't be need for this assistance. That's what we've demonstrated here. The reason why nobody's building apartment complexes right now without incentives is they can't afford to do it. They can't get bank financing to do it. We've talked about what the vacancy rate, whether it's 3.5% or whether it's 1.5%, or if it's 0.5% or it's 0, whatever it is, we know it's low. We know it's historically low. And we know we have economic development opportunities coming from Agristo and others that we want to build housing. And I know we want to build low and moderate income housing. I'm just going to warn you right now, if we're going to build those, they're going to need, they're likely going to need 20 years, 90% tax incentives. Okay, so that's what those projects are going to require on top of the state and federal incentives they're getting to build low and moderate income housing. The other thing that we've heard from the school board and the county commission is we need revenue for whatever reason, right? There's enough fingers to be pointed at them. And so this project, if you look at the attachment that Maureen Storstedt has provided, it provides additional revenue, not only for the city, but in particular the entities that need it, which is Grand Forks County and the school board. So you can see where the net gain in property tax revenue in these first 5 years is $25,000 per year. So they're going to receive, even with the 5-year 100%, because we're going to tax the land at a higher value. And then you can look over that year 6 through 10, it's $2.4 million a year. And so you can see that we're going to raise the revenue because we're going to build. So not only are we're creating more revenue for the entities, we're creating economic impact because we're building something, and we're creating more housing units in our area with all this. So there's lots of wins in this, and we need housing in all categories. If someone's going to come to work at Agristo, they're probably not going to qualify for low and moderate income housing. They're going to have to be in market rate housing. If you're a construction worker that's going to work on the Agristo facility for the next 3 to 4 years, you're not going to qualify for low and moderate income housing. So we need enough housing units across the board to make it happen. And I know we always point out Memorial Village 1 and 2. Those got, Memorial Village 2 got a 95% incentive over 20 years. Memorial Village 1 got a 90% over 20 years. And so thank goodness we got those completed during the pandemic because UND would not have had housing to house their. Memorial Village 2 was full before the school year started, before it was even completed. And so those are projects that we approved because they were public-private partnerships. The infrastructure was already there. We didn't have to put in a bunch of infrastructure. It provided a benefit to UND. And I think when you see all those wins, thank goodness the city council approved all those things. Otherwise, UND would have been in, they would have lost opportunities to have students at UND.
Then just, you acknowledged we have 4 or 5 more coming next year. When do we think we have enough housing that we don't continue this request for pilots?
Mayor Buczynski and Councilmember Bean, that's a tough, we always say, people say we should be creating 250 to 450 units, apartment units a year, probably 100 single family, of which we're not meeting those parameters at all. I think the surest thing you can do as city council is you can determine on incentives, on the tax incentive side, on what you're going to provide for. We could go back to the other developers and say, you know what, we're going to allow for 5-year 100%. And after that, it's all on your risk. Our initial discussion, and Mr. Sandy is going to be your representative when we get together with those folks. What I've heard initially is, well, we're not going to be able to move forward with our projects then. I mean, that's the surest way to make sure nothing happens, is not to provide any incentive. Or provide an incentive that's really going to push the risk back onto the developers.
Well, the intent is to share the risk, right?
Yep. And I think what they're going to say is, well, I think what they think is going to be sharing the risk, and we're going to talk to our others, we can't do 5-year 100%, but maybe we could do something within 10 years if we can't get 15 or 20. I think those are the discussions that Mr. Sandy's going to have with the other developers. And certainly we want to bring the school board in here and in the county commission because we're doing most of the work on getting these things done. And what we're trying to do is deliver growth and revenue to the other taxing entities because we know that they need that.
All right, we see no further comments. So with that, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion carries 6-1 with Osowski dissenting. All right, item 514, we're going to go into an executive session to discuss the pending litigation of East Central Regional Water District versus the City of Grand Forks, United States District Court, case number 3-20-CV-208. The legal authority that we have to do such is under North Dakota Century Code 44-04-19.1 and 44-04-19.2 for attorney consultation on pending litigation. So I would request a motion to convene executive session. Motion from Vice President Weigel.
Second.
Second from Ms. Berg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the executive session will be recorded, and all members of City Council are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. Any collective decision, collective commitment, or other final action by the governing body must occur after it reconvenes in an open meeting, unless final action is specifically required by law to be taken during executive session. And also, the prohibition on taking final action during the executive session does not apply to providing guidance or instructions to our attorney or negotiator. All right, so I'll have everybody clear out, and then I'll announce the names of who are still in here. Okay, sounds good. And I think for city staff, yeah, probably Al and Melanie. Yeah, sorry. Mr. Budini and Mr. Brooks, you might be able to leave. You can leave. You want to stay? Okay, I guess you got to stay now. All right. All right, you got the record.